Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are stripping everything down. The topic is building naked.
Mm,
And when I first saw that in the research stack, I honestly thought it sounded, well, suicidal.
right.
We're talking about radical transparency in Web3 startups,
Yeah.
sharing your code, your roadmap, your failures, basically handing your playbook to your competitors in real time.
Yeah.
And my first instinct is just, why on earth would anyone do that?
It does feel counterintuitive, doesn't it? But here's the cold reality we have to start with.
Okay.
Over 90% of Web3 startups fail within their first 3 years. That is just a staggering number.
Wow.
And the argument in these sources isn't that they fail because the node is hard or, the market crash. It's that they're using the wrong playbook.
The wrong playbook.
They're trying to act like the CIA in an ecosystem that only rewards you if you're acting like a public square.
But the CIA method stealth mode, I mean, that's Silicon Valley gospel, right?
It was.
You lock the engineers in a basement, paper over the windows, eat ramen for 2 years, and then emerge with this perfect product that crushes everyone. Are you saying that's dead? Because that's how we got the iPhone. That's how we got Google.
It's not dead for everyone, but I think it is dead for most Web3 founders. See, in Web2, your value was usually your proprietary data.
Your algorithm.
Or a secret algorithm, exactly. If Google showed you their search ranking code, you could game it instantly. Their secrecy was their moat. But Web3 is built on read-write-own.
Right. The ledger's public.
The ledger's public, the
Yeah.
code is usually open source.
Yeah.
So if you try to hide in a stealth bunker, you aren't building a moat, you're building a vacuum. You're cutting yourself off from the very thing that creates value in crypto.
Which is composability. The idea that my protocol can plug into yours like Lego blocks.
Precisely. And if nobody knows what your Lego block looks like or how it works because you're in stealth, nobody can build on top of it.
So you launch, and you're an island.
And in this space, islands sink. The build naked thesis is that you trade the safety of secrecy for the velocity of the network.
Okay, but let's talk about the risks. Because velocity sounds great until you crash. The sources mention Linus's law. Given enough eyeballs, all bugs are shallow.
The classic open source argument.
Right. But doesn't that also mean, given enough eyeballs, hackers will find the exploit before you do?
That is the fear. It is. But look at the alternative. If you build in a black box and you launch a smart contract handling millions of dollars, and you missed a bug because only 5 people looked at the code,
You're done.
you're completely done. There is no rollback button on Ethereum. You can't call customer service. The money is just gone. Building in public is actually a security strategy. You are, in a way, crowdsourcing your audit.
It's like a bug bounty program that starts on day one.
And it's a marketing engine. The research calls it the serendipity engine, which I think is just a brilliant way to frame it.
I have to push back on that term a bit. Serendipity engine sounds great on a VC slide deck. But in the real world, isn't that just a fancy way of saying, I hope someone notices me? Does building in public actually bring in business? Or does it just attract noise?
It attracts alignment. I mean, think about Rome Research. When they started, the tool was frankly a mess. It was buggy, the UI was rough.
I remember that.
If they had stayed in stealth until it was perfect, Notion would have eaten them alive. But because they opened it up early, they didn't just get users, they got a cult.
A cult?
The users literally built the workflows, they wrote the documentation, they evangelized the product because they felt like they were co-authors.
So they didn't just buy the product, they bought into the construction of the product.
Yes. And you can compare that to Superhuman, the email client. They stayed in stealth for 2 years.
And it worked for them. They're huge.
It worked because they were building an email client. The bar for email is perfection. If you launch a buggy email app, nobody has the patience to co-author it with you.
You just go back to Gmail.
You just go back to Gmail. But for a protocol or a new network where the value comes from how many people are using it, secrecy just creates indifference, and indifference is lethal.
But there is one carve-out here for deep tech, right? The Siri example.
Oh, yeah. Siri was actually called stealth-company.com before Apple bought them.
Subtle.
Very. If you are building something that is purely technical, like a new AI model or a hardware breakthrough, and your only edge is that you know how to do it and Google doesn't,
Then yes, shut up, hide.
exactly. Because if Google figures out the trick, they can out-execute you in a month with their resources. But 99% of Web3 startups aren't building Siri.
Okay, so let's assume I'm sold on this build naked philosophy. I publish my code on GitHub. I tweet my roadmap.
You're all in.
Then a week later, I wake up and someone has copied my code, changed the logo, and launched my project but better. And they're stealing my users. This isn't theoretical. This is the vampire attack.
It's the nightmare scenario, and it's exactly what happened between Uniswap and SushiSwap. Uniswap did all the work, wrote the code, built the exchange. SushiSwap forked the code, literally copy-pasted it, and added one thing, a token, Sushi Heija, that paid people to switch.
And it worked. They drained $1 billion in liquidity in days.
It worked temporarily, and this forces us to ask, if the code is open, what is the moat? Why didn't Uniswap die?
Well, from a user perspective, if SushiSwap offers me 100% APY and Uniswap offers me 0, why shouldn't I be a vampire too? Why should I care about loyalty to a protocol? I'm here to make money.
And that is the mercenary capital problem. If you win users with bribes, which is essentially what high yields are, they will leave the second someone else offers a bigger bribe.
It's not a business. It's a race to the bottom.
Exactly. The defense against a vampire attack isn't hiding the code. It's Tokenomics and the social moat.
Okay, let's dig into Tokenomics. It sounds like just another buzzword. How does that actually stamp a vampire?
It changes the time horizon. It stands for vote escrowed tokens. So instead of just giving you a token you can dump instantly, I give you rewards if you lock your tokens for, say, 4 years.
4 years? That's a lifetime in crypto.
That's the point. If you lock for 4 years, I give you more voting power and higher yields. Now, you aren't a mercenary. You're a citizen. You have a vested interest in the protocol surviving.
So the vampire can fork the code.
But it can't fork a community of people who are contractually locked into supporting the original chain for the next half-decade.
So transparency forces you to build better economic incentives because you can't rely on secret sauce.
It keeps you honest.
All right, so we've established that building naked works for the code and the community layers. But there is a massive hole in this theory, and it's where I think the naked analogy gets really uncomfortable.
Uh-oh.
I'm talking about the user experience.
Yeah.
Because right now on mobile, the user feels completely exposed.
This is the retention crisis. We're seeing churn rates of 97% within 30 days for mobile Web3 apps.
Wait, 97%? That basically means nobody stays.
Almost nobody. And it's not because the users don't want the product. It's because the experience of using a dApp on a phone is fundamentally broken. Think about the bookmark problem.
Ugh. Yeah, I have a wallet app, and inside it, there's this clunky web browser. I bookmark a dip, but then I never look at it again.
Right.
There's no icon on my home screen. There are no push notifications.
It's a ghost town. In the walled garden of the App Store, you get convenience. You get that little red notification dot that pulls you back in.
Yeah.
In the open Web3 world, we stripped all that away in the name of decentralization, but we didn't replace it with anything, so users just drift away.
So developers are stuck. They can either build a website that nobody remembers to visit, or they can build a native app like an Android or iOS app, but then they hit the friction wall.
Right. You have to convince a user to download a 200 megabyte file just to try your service. And then you deal with the App Store taking a 30% cut or just banning your crypto features.
So a lot of devs are turning to embedded wallets. You know, you just log in with an email and the wallet is hidden in the background. It feels smoother.
It feels smoother, but it's a security nightmare. The sources highlight a specific attack vector here called clickjacking that is honestly terrifying.
I've heard of this. It's the overlay attack, right?
Exactly. Imagine you're on a website, you see a button that says sign up for newsletter. You click it.
Okay.
But unbeknownst to you, the website has placed a transparent layer, like an invisible sheet of glass, over that button. And on that invisible sheet is the real button, which says approve transfer of all funds.
Wait, stop. How is that even possible? The browser just lets you stack invisible buttons on top of each other.
In a standard web environment, yes. The iframe, the little window holding the wallet, doesn't know what's on top of it. It just knows you clicked. So you think you're subscribing to a blog, but you're actually signing a transaction that drains your account.
That is insane. So we built the code naked to be transparent, but we left the user naked to be robbed.
Correct. Which brings us to the solution proposed in the research. Secure Sign and the PWA architecture. This uses a new standard called EIP 6963.
EIP 6963. Can we decode that without getting into the weeds?
Think of it as a diplomatic handshake between the wallet and the browser. Before this, the dApp and the wallet were just sort of shouting at each other. Now, with EIP 6963, the wallet can establish authority.
Okay.
When you use a progressive web app, a PWA, with this standard, it creates a sandbox.
A sandbox, meaning like a VIP room.
Exactly. When you go to sign a transaction, the wallet takes over the screen. It pushes the dApp aside. It creates a secure window that the dApp cannot touch, cannot overlay, cannot interfere with.
So even if the malicious site tries to put an invisible button there, the wallet pushes it to the back.
The wallet essentially says, I'm the parent here, the dApp is the child doesn't get to touch the steering wheel.
And because it's a PWA, I can save it to my home screen. I get the icon, I get the push notifications.
But you don't have to download a massive app from the App Store.
It's the Goldilocks zone.
It really is. Zero context switching for the user, native level security, but still open and decentralized. It clothes the user while keeping the code naked.
I like that. Clothe the user, keep the code naked. That actually leads us perfectly into the next tension. Privacy versus secrecy.
Right.
Because when we tell founders to build naked, some of them panic and think, I can't show everyone my user's data.
And they shouldn't. There is a massive difference between corporate secrecy, hiding your roadmap, and user privacy, protecting their identity.
A critical distinction.
The build naked philosophy demands the first, but absolutely forbids compromising the second.
The source from IDOS, the
Yeah.
identity operating system, has this phrase I love, the can't be evil standard. We all know Google's old, don't be evil.
Don't be evil is a promise. Can't be evil is math.
Okay.
The IDOS architecture is fascinating because it separates the data from the app. Right now, if you use Coinbase, Coinbase holds your data. If Coinbase gets hacked, your data is gone.
Or if they sell it.
Or if they sell it.
Right.
In the IDOS model, your data, your passport scan, your address is encrypted with your key. It's stored in a decentralized cloud. If a dApp wants to know you are over 18, they ask for a grant. It's a temporary permission slip. You don't send them the file. You send them a key that lets them look at the file for 10 minutes or just verify a yes-no answer, and the key expires.
But practically speaking, if I'm a user, this sounds like a hassle. I have to manage keys.
Well, that's where the face sign technology comes in, using T's trusted execution environments. This is really cool hardware stuff.
Keys are basically secure vaults inside the chip of your phone, right?
Yes. So you scan your face, the biometric data goes into the vault says, okay, this is the right user, and it signs the transaction. The raw face data never leaves the chip.
So the dApp never sees my face.
The dApp never sees your face. The cloud never sees your face. Only the chip knows.
So we're using hardware isolation to allow for radical software openness.
Exactly. The business has glass walls, but the user has tinted windows.
We've covered the philosophy, the security, the UX, the privacy, but we have to talk about the bottom line. If I'm building naked, giving away my code, and protecting user privacy, how do I actually make money?
This is where go-to-market gets wild. The research from Formo points out that you can't target demographics anymore.
Right.
You don't know who is male or female or living in Ohio.
You only know what they do.
Wallet behavior. You target people who have traded over $10,000 on Uniswap in the last month. That is a far more accurate signal of intent than male 25-34.
But what about the revenue model itself? We saw some interesting examples. Render Network, Nouns DAO.
Let's look at Nouns DAO. I think
Right.
this is the most elegant example of transparency creating value.
This is the one auction every day model.
Yep. Every 24 hours, the protocol generates one noun, a pixel art character. It's auctioned to the highest bidder. And 100% of that money goes into a community treasury.
We're talking real money. That treasury is massive.
Tens of millions. Now, why do people bid? Because the treasury is public. It's naked. When I buy a noun, I know exactly how much capital is in the war chest that I now help control. If that treasury was a secret bank account held by the founders, the nouns would be worthless. The transparency is the valuation metric.
So I'm not buying a JPEG. I'm buying a voting seat at a very rich table.
And because everyone can see the table, the trust is absolute. Compare that to a startup where you buy equity, but you have no idea how much cash they actually have.
Or until they go bankrupt.
Exactly. Transparency removes the principal-agent problem. The holders and the builders are looking at the same ledger.
There's also the pay-for-proof model mentioned with Render.
That's the utility side. Render connects people who need GPU power with people who have idle GPUs. You aren't buying a token on speculation.
You're buying credits.
You're buying credits to get a job done. The proof is the rendered 3D file. The blockchain just handles the payment and the verification. It's boring, but it works.
Boring is good. Boring means sustainable.
Boring is the goal.
So let's bring this all home. We started by saying building naked sounds suicidal. But looking at the vampire attacks, the mobile churn, the privacy tech, it feels more like building closed is the suicide mission.
That's the conclusion I come to. If you look at the successful protocols, Ethereum, Uniswap, Aave, Vir, They are all naked. They have no secrets. Their moat is their community and their execution speed.
You can copy the code, but you can't copy the culture.
You can't copy the momentum. But I do want to leave the listeners with a nuance here.
Oh, yeah.
We aren't saying post your diary on Twitter. There is a hybrid approach that the smartest founders use.
What does that look like?
You share your mission. You share your lessons learned. You share the code that needs to be audited. But maybe you keep the specific feature roadmap for Q3 close to your chest.
You don't give the vampires a schedule.
You don't give them a schedule. Exactly. Be transparent about who you are and how you build, but maybe keep a little mystery about what comes next Tuesday.
Right.
The question isn't, should I be open or closed? I mean, the internet has already decided that for you. If you're on the blockchain, you're open. The question is, what do you have the courage to build in the light? Because if you can build it while everyone is watching and still win, that is a moat that nobody can cross.
That is a terrifying and inspiring place to leave it. To all the builders out there.
Yeah.
Good luck, and maybe put some clothes on your users, even if you're building naked. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
Thanks.
We'll see you next time.